Uh, Perfect. Awesome, y'all. So welcome very much. If you are interested in the Biomedical Technician Training Program for all in PHL, you are in the right space. This is brought to you by the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative and the Wistar Institute, and a whole bunch of host partners down on the bottom, including our two employer partners for this program, Integral Molecular and iAdvanced Biotherapeutics, which you're going to learn a ton more about throughout this session. So first, who am I? My name is AJ Adams. I'm the manager of partner services for the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. I lead our work within life sciences, both on the employer side and working directly with participants to prepare them for the training that they'll enter into. I'm also joined today by Mimi In. Mimi, do you want to take a moment and introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mimi In. I'm the Data and Quality Manager for West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. I support the team with the upcoming program. Thank you.
Great. And we won't be joined with Christy today, but we are lucky enough to be joined by David. So David?
Hi, everyone. My name is David Zuzga. I'm Associate Dean of Biomedical Studies here at the Wistar Institute, and I get to teach a course in this program, which is one of my most favorite things to do. So I'm really excited that everybody's here today, excited to get to know you.
So a little bit of the roadmap that we're on today. First, you'll learn about David and I's organization, the Wistar Institute, and the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. We'll dive deeper into our employer partners, iAdvanced Biotherapeutics and Integral Molecular. We'll talk about the technician role and the responsibilities of a technician, and you'll see the differences within those roles at the two different employer partners. Talk about the program schedule and the commitment that you need to make. Application process, the tips and tricks on how to submit a high quality application. And then, as I've already shared, we will have open Q&A session. You'll be able to ask David and I anything related to employment, the program, application process, anything else that kind of resonates. A few things as you are going through this information session with us, I'd say take particular note of the images that you see on the screen. Ideally, these images are resonating with you. You're making kind of that informed decision really early on that this is an environment that you could see yourself working in. You're going to see kind of two different kind of imagery throughout this session. One, what I'll call traditional lab settings, which you can see on your screen now, and then other ones that requires different protective equipment to work in the lab environment. As you're thinking about this program being the right fit for you, you're not only opting into a work environment that looks like this traditional lab setting, but some other images where you'll see folks in full garb. And David and I can answer some more questions about that as we continue through the info session and then at the open Q&A. Great. So who are we? David, I'm going to kick it off to you first. Tell us more about Wistar.
Sure. So Wistar is a pretty unique organization. So we are a nonprofit biomedical research institute, and we're actually the first of its kind in America. So we're the nation's first independent biomedical research institute. We've been around for over 120 years. We're located right in the center of the University of Pennsylvania's campus, although we're a completely separate entity. We have about 35 different labs that do research in cancer biology, immunology, and vaccine development. And for over the past 20 years, we've been really interested in workforce training. We've run a biomedical technician training program in partnership with the Community of College of Philadelphia since 2000, and nearly 250 students have completed that program, and that's been super successful. And the structure of that program is really sort of at the heart of the current program that we're talking about here today in partnership with West Philadelphia Skills Initiative. The folks that have completed the program have been really successful. In the traditional program, most of those have been community college students. and about half of those have obtained positions after they completed that program. And then the other half have continued their education. The program is also a registered pre-apprenticeship that leads into an opportunity to complete a apprenticeship program, which is a year of on-the-job training and employment with an employment partner. And that program really kind of converges with the current program. Our goal here is to provide you with fundamental knowledge and skills that will allow you to be successful when you work at these companies in the biotechnology space. So we're really excited about this work at Wistar, excited to welcome you into our community. And one of the most exciting things about the training program is during your time at the Wistar Institute working in a lab, gaining the fundamental skills, you actually get to participate in actual cancer research that we're doing here at the Wistar Institute, which is really at the very, very cutting edge of all of scientific research. So it's a great opportunity that we're really excited to have you all participate in.
Great. Thank you, David. And who is the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative? We design and run programs which connect you, a job seeker, to the tools and supports needed to build a career that's meaningful to you. We use a really specific model, a cohort-based training model, where we work with one single employer. We identify one position which is in high need or high demand. And ultimately, we only recruit enough participants for the number of job openings within the specific program. And then we wrap around professional development curriculum and coaching and technical training in order to give you the skills that you need to enter into the workforce and connect to that job with our specific employer partner. And the data says we're really good at it. To date, since 2011, we've served over 1,700 participants, and through that, we've become really good at our work, connecting over 92% of participants to jobs to our specific employer partner. And the value add for our employers is not only are they getting connected to great talent, those folks that we connect them to are staying in that role, at least 83% of them, up to 1 year or more. So retention has been really great, not only connecting people to jobs, but having folks stay in those jobs because of the quality and investment the employer makes. So how do we do this work? Our goal is to match employer needs and job seeker needs. We do this through a lot of relational work, developing relationships with employers, understanding the positions and their culture just as well as they do, and really creating an ideal job candidate profile to connect job seekers just like you to these opportunities. And we build customized training programs like you'll hear about today. And then maybe the best part of our work, we get to spread the word to everyone who's interested in these programs. Despite kind of the name and the work and location, we want folks to know that these programs are available to you if you're a Philadelphia resident, you're 18 years or older, and you have a high school diploma or GED or beyond. And if that meets your criteria, then you are eligible for this program. And then maybe I said the best part of our work. This is the best part of our work. And then we get to make successful matches, right? Connecting job seekers to quality employment and employers to the talent that they need. You know, it's a really boiled down way to say, we love doing this work. It's intentional. It requires deep relationships with both employers and participants. So now what we're going to do is learn a little bit more about Iovance Biotherapeutics. A few things where I start telling you more is just take a look at the imagery that you see on the screen. First off, Iovance is located down at the Navy Yard, the southernmost point of Philadelphia, just below the stadiums. You can access the Navy Yard kind of two ways, straight down Broad Street or through Southwest Philadelphia through 26th Street. On the top of your screen, you'll see a rendering of Iovance and their building and what it looks like today. And below the building, you'll see what the work environment looks like, working in fully aseptic garb. Iovance aims to be a global leader in innovating and developing and delivering tumor-infiltrating therapies for people with cancer. Iovance is a pioneering and transformational approach to treating cancer by harnessing the ability of the human immune system to recognize and attack diverse cancer cells in each patient. As a key developer of these tumor-infiltrating therapies, Iovance seeks to hire qualified and devoted aseptic manufacturing technicians that can help meet the demands of this fast-paced laboratory environment with a patient-first mindset. That role of aseptic manufacturing technician looks like the image on your screen. There's no expectation that you would be in that quote-unquote uniform for an entire work shift, but multiple hours would require you working in that environment. The next thing we're going to do to kind of drive home who Iovance is a little bit more is share a short video to give you some deeper insights. Not sure if I turned on the volume, David, so I'll look for you to give me a thumbs up if and when it plays. Do you hear that? Down. Okay. Give me 1 second. I did not turn it on my screen, which is totally fine. It'll just take me a second. There's always something. Share sound. All right, and we're back.
Iovance Biotherapeutics aims to be the global leader in innovating, developing, and delivering novel cell therapies for cancer. Our Iovance Cell Therapy Center, or ICTC, symbolizes what we have accomplished in manufacturing for the patients, the caregivers, and the families that we serve. The ICTC is located in the Philadelphia Navy Yard, a growing community where companies and their employees thrive. With 1,200 acres of land, the Philadelphia Navy Yard has over 15,000 employees and 170 companies, 30 of which are part of the Philadelphia Biopharm cluster of gene and cell therapy companies like Iovance.
Iovance, being a West Coast company, invested almost 12 to 13 weeks to determine what is the best location for this autologous cell therapy product of ours. We looked at 10 different states, 59 different locations, and Navy Yard was number one through our selection process.
I think Philadelphia has really primed us for success here at ICTC. I mean, we were very lucky and fortunate that we have a talent pool that we can pull from, and that's, you know, the universities, the hospitals, and all the different biotech companies around us. So we're pretty fortunate from that perspective.
The Navy Yard is becoming the hub of Silicon Valley here in Philadelphia, and we now have one of the most significant facilities that will attract the best and brightest talent here to the city.
My name is Angel Hilton and I'm a manufacturing associate. I used to live in Florida and I decided to, join the team here in Philadelphia. I want to be able to research in cancer. In Tampa, there's not a lot of those companies around for me to develop, and I got the opportunity to become an intern at Iovance. So yeah, it's amazing. True story.
It's really amazing to see the progress in such a short period of time. Since I joined the organization, this was a dirt lot, and then quickly, the entire building went up.
Building the ICTC was a huge task. Thinking about the numbers of contractors that had to be coordinated in the middle of a pandemic, managing COVID-19 protocols, continued revisions to designs, optimizing designs, and the team pushed through all of those challenges throughout a really challenging 2020.
We were very fortunate with the support all the way up to the governor of Pennsylvania to ensure we would continue doing this project in real time and managing all the restrictions that we had to deal with to keep every employee safe through this construction effort. And I am grateful just for all the employees that have been working with us, the strategic partners, and most importantly, our leadership team that made it happen.
The ribbon cutting is a milestone, of course. It signifies the start of something we've all been working towards, which is being in a position to treat patients with this revolutionary technology. We now have the capabilities of commercially supporting ourselves and moving towards that end goal of actually treating a patient.
It's a milestone for us, but it's also the beginning of our journey here at the ICTC. It's the beginning of our operations of being able to bring TIL therapy to the patients.
I think what's really great about the ICTC is that we have so many suites to do so much manufacturing and help so many patients. And knowing that we have the capacity to treat a lot of patients, to me, is inspiring. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that happen.
In just 2 years, we have grown our ICTC team with plans to add hundreds more in the future. It is also the unveiling of a new hope and modality for manufacturing a patient's own cells to potentially treat their cancer. Thank you to the Iovance team and the local community for all of your support in helping us achieve this important milestone.
Right, so I hope that was helpful to get some deeper insights on Iovance and who they are. Now we're going to take a deeper look at our other employer partner for this program, Integral Molecular. As you can see, not located at the Navy Yard, Integral is in University City District, right around 37th and Market. And the other thing to take note is that you'll see that the lab environment and the technicians are dressed differently. The lab looks differently. So although both these positions are technicians, the work environment is going to vary depending on the product that you are creating. A little bit more about Integral. Integral is a founding member of the Philadelphia biotech community, launched by a team of scientists who met as graduate students and postdocs at the University of Pennsylvania. The core leadership team has worked for over 25 years to build the company from a 2-person laboratory to industry leader in membrane protein solutions. Their 26,000 square foot research center located in University City is heavily invested in and has state-of-the-art cell and molecular biology, robotics, and technology to enable them to solve difficult challenges and advance therapeutic discoveries. As a growing company, Integral is seeking to hire research technicians to support the continued success of the research teams to ensure efficient laboratory operations. Kind of same thing here. What I'm going to do now is show a short video about Integral to give you some deeper insights on them about as a company.
Integral Molecular is the industry leader in membrane protein solutions. Our science is trusted by over 400 companies, and our technologies have been published in over 250 patents and papers. At Integral Molecular, our goal is to make sure that your therapeutic antibody has the greatest chance for success. Off-target binding is a leading cause of preclinical safety failure, and 20 to 25% of antibodies that we test for specificity turn out to be polyspecific. That is, they bind another completely unrelated off-target protein in addition to their target. In retrospect, even many clinical and FDA-approved antibodies have proven to be polyspecific, with significant safety and financial consequences. Integral Molecular's membrane protein array is the leading technology for testing off-target binding to de-risk therapeutic antibodies and CAR T cells. Our diverse collection of 6,000 membrane proteins are expressed in live unfixed cells and encompasses 94% of the human membrane proteome, including nearly all GPCRs, ion channels, and transporters. Here's how the membrane proteome array works. First, you send us 0.5 milligram of your antibody. We optimize your antibody in an assay setup experiment to determine the optimal cell line and screening concentration. Next, we screen your antibody by flow cytometry against 6,000 membrane proteins expressed in live, unfixed cells to identify hits. Finally, we test all hits in a dose-response titration experiment to validate the data, and we deliver an IND-ready report with publication quality figures, all in 4 weeks. For CAR T cells, we can also test live CAR T cell activation directly on our membrane proteome array. We are the leading technology for specificity testing because we have the largest and highest quality collection of human membrane proteins, built with 20 years of experience. And because all of our experiments are done with unfixed cells that retain the native conformation of membrane proteins, which means you won't miss important off-target interactions. Our membrane proteome array is part of Integral Molecular's suite of technologies for antibody discovery, epitope mapping, functional genomics, and much more. We look forward to working with you.
So now we know a little bit more about our employer partners and their need for technician roles. The great thing about this program and working with two employers is there's consistency, and that consistency happens in the quality of job. On your screen on the right-hand side, you can see some of the things that both employers offer, which is full-time permanent employment and at least $21 an hour to start. Both the research and aseptic manufacturing technicians will earn that $21 an hour. And individuals in these roles will be responsible for maintaining a lot of the things that you've seen in those videos, like keeping a sterile lab environment by garbing, cleaning, and following procedures to ensure constant cleanliness. Individuals in these roles will assemble sterile products, they'll stock supplies, and document processes of both biomanufacturers and research scientists, in addition to performing vital laboratory tasks to support the continued success of manufacturing and research teams. That might include things like buffers and chemical solutions, complex reactions and mixtures, and media according to established methods and standard operating procedures. Note that those aseptic manufacturers work in that fully gowned environment, including gloves and face masks and goggles, and routinely attend trainings to ensure compliance with new operational procedures, while the research technicians at Integral work in a traditional lab environment, which you can see in the picture. As a technician with either company, you'll work with a team, roughly of 4 to 6 other staff members, and at times perform duties independently. Both Iovance and Integral name that employees who succeed in these roles are go-getter. They take initiative, they ask questions, they pay attention to detail to ensure processes are followed correctly the first time. Some things to be prepared for as you're thinking about not only this training program, but opportunity to for employment post-program. That ability to work in the fully gowned environment for multiple hours is part of employment, but also part of this program opportunity. Ability to start work in either location, University City, or the Navy Yard, starting as early as 7 a.m., working evenings, weekends, and overtime as needed, and at times working a non-traditional schedule, which could be Sunday through Wednesday, 7 a.m. till 6:30 p.m., with an alternating week of Sunday through Tuesdays. And again, you must be able to, Mimi, could you, thank you, mute that phone number. Must be able to wear appropriate clean room attire, as I've already talked about, and as you can see in the images, and also wear that half respirator that you've seen, and able to stand or walk for 90% of your shift with either employer. And have open flexibility to work those 8 to 12-hour shifts, including weekends. So the pathway to becoming a technician, David and I are going to dive into the full commitment, but I wanted to show you what that pathway looks like. After you complete the first 12 weeks of the Biomedical Technician Training Program, you'll then be assigned one of the externship locations, either at Iovance Biotherapeutics or Integral Molecular. Again, each are technician positions, but the work environment can look very different, whether that's that traditional lab environment or that fully gowned environment. Each technician role will support and work on a team of scientists, and largely responsibilities overlap. And those assignments will be based off of your performance, interest, science aptitude, and considering your preferences, but no assignment is guaranteed, whether that's at Integral or iAdvance. David, how about I kick it over to you?
Sure. So AJ mentioned that the first 12 weeks are the Biomedical Technician Training Program. And the start of that is a 10-week Life Science Foundations course that I will be teaching most, if not all, of those classes. And those are in-person classes here at the Wistar Institute. The Life Science Foundation course runs from 6:30 to 8 p.m. 2 nights a week. In addition to that, the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative offers an online professional development course, which is virtual 1 night a week. In the Life Science Foundations course, we really have 2 objectives. The first is to give you foundational knowledge of biology that will allow you to understand and think about the different things that you will do when you get into the lab. So you will understand the basic biology behind the technologies at either iAdvance or Integral Molecular. The second objective is to introduce you to the regulated laboratory environment. So laboratories, the laboratory at iAdvance, for instance, so they receive tumor samples from patients. So a cancer patient has an operation, they remove the tumor. Part of that tumor goes to iAdvance. They work with that tumor over the course of a few weeks, and they return the immune cells that are fighting the cancer. They isolate and they grow those cells up and they return those so they can be infused back into the patient. That process is highly, highly regulated. There are rules and regulations for how those laboratories operate. We call them GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practice. And the second part of that Life Science Foundations course is going to introduce you to those types of regulations, so they are familiar to you. So when you get to either of the 2 companies, you have a set of expectations and you have a foundation that will allow you to operate well in that highly regulated environment. After those 10 weeks, we then move, and everyone is really excited to make this change. We move to Wistar's training lab, where you're going to have 2 weeks of in-person, hands-on, full-day training in our laboratories. As I mentioned earlier, we're not just showing you different techniques. The curriculum for this 2-week laboratory orientation actually taps into cancer research that's happening at the Wistar Institute. So you actually become cancer researchers doing those 2 weeks as you learn a variety of laboratory techniques. And then after those 2 weeks, you really have a strong foundation. We know this from the success of our past participants, but you're now ready to transition into the externships at either company. And so those will be a 12-week internship. The schedules may be different depending on which company that you land in. And then you'll get a similar type of training and onboarding that new hires get at either of those companies. So both iAdvance and Integral Molecular are really going to be investing in each of you during that 12-week internship, with the expectation that you're going to interview for an open position and be successful to become employed at either of those companies. And this is a long journey, as AJ likes to talk about. We're all of us are going on this journey together. So altogether, it's a 24-week training program beginning in June and ending in January, where employment starts at either of the two companies.
Thanks, David. For those folks who need a different visual and a breakdown, you can start to see kind of the flow of the program and commitments that you'll need to make. So officially, the program will start on June 24th. Prior to that, there'll be a virtual participant agreement meeting and an in-person orientation at the Wistar Institute. But starting the week of June 24th, we'll start that kind of 3-day schedule for the first 10 weeks. 2 nights with David for Life Science Foundations on Mondays and Thursdays. And then virtual sessions with the West Philadelphia Skills Initiative on Tuesdays for our professional development series. And you can see some Wednesday sessions in here as well. Those are our industry exposure series. It's an opportunity to give you a deeper dive into the life sciences industry, connect you to partners and other folks to expand your network, and ultimately start to understand how valuable the skills and your future employment are going to be to Philadelphia and the region. At the point that you are accepted into the program, we'll share exact dates and times for those Wednesday sessions related to industry exposure. After that first 10 weeks of evening classes, we'll then transition to the lab at the Wistar Institute for 2 weeks of laboratory orientation, September 9th through September 20th. The image on your screen is a previous iAdvance cohort in the lab at Wistar, learning the skills that they need to be successful as aseptic manufacturing technicians. That commitment in September for lab orientation is the shift in the program to a full-time schedule. In the lab, you'll work from a 9 to 5 schedule, Monday through Friday for 2 weeks, which is preparation for your externship at either site of iAdvance or Integral Molecular. You can expect for the next 12 weeks, starting on September 23rd through December 13th, you will work somewhere around a 9 to 5 schedule or 7 to 3-ish, depending on where you're placed and the department that you are assigned to. All those details will become more clear as we continue through and you're selected for the program. But you should expect to be kind of working or training full-time during the externship with an 8-hour commitment. During the externship, you are paid for your time as well, at that rate of $14 an hour for roughly 40 hours a week. So what do you get in the program? You get those college-adapted life sciences courses plus WPSI professional development for the first 10 weeks of the programs, that hands-on lab-specific training that will prepare you for your externship at Integral or iAdvance, that employer-specific externship that we've already talked about, a guaranteed interview with the employer, plus that total opportunity to show the employer the value that you have to the company during the externship, onboarding supports that come from David and I to transition to your new role and are built into the program throughout, things like applying, updating your resume, going through the onboarding screenings that are required to start your new job in January. $150 weekly stipend for the first 10 weeks of the program during those evening classes, really as an incentive to continue through. At the point that we enter into laboratory orientation, you'll start earning $14 an hour for roughly 40 hours a week, both in laboratory orientation and your externship. You'll not only get a MacBook Pro to complete the college level coursework in the program, but upon successful completion of the program, you will receive a MacBook Pro as well as a gift to you for completing, but also to continue your learning. Through the program, you'll receive 2 College East textbooks that will be your guide throughout this learning process, and then industry professional coaching to make sure you're successful not only in the program, but beyond. Last kind of bit of information before we dive into the application process. So who are we looking for? Kind of at the bottom in bold are the non-negotiables. able to accommodate working weekends and those kind of non-traditional hours at times, being a Philadelphia resident, and a high school diploma or GED. In addition to that, you start to see some of the other things that our employers have named are really important for folks to be successful in these roles. We're also looking for folks to be able to make that commitment to the schedule of September all the way through December. Have a strong desire to attain and retain that full-time employment. Reliable transportation to the worksite, whether that's in West Philadelphia, University City, or the Navy Yard, and capable of working in that fully garbed environment that you see on your screen. So, order of operations for our applicants. Some of you may have waited for this info session to submit an application. Some of you may already have. Either way, these tips and tricks should be helpful for you navigating this process. So the first thing is to submit that online application. I would say the first recommendation is to complete it fully, including your work history and education. The other thing I strongly encourage is thoughtfully answering the 2 open-ended questions. Why you want to participate in this program, and what additional qualifications are you bringing? David and I are not looking for folks who come from a strong science background or have previous experience, but we are looking for folks who are really interested and dedicated to this career path. And ideally, if you're answering those open-ended questions in a really thoughtful way, we'll be able to tell that. Those folks that submit really strong applications will then move through the next process, which will be to come to our space at 40th and Market and take a math and reading assessment, ultimately interview with us and submit some screening documents, things like your social security card, state ID, and things like that. Those folks who submit a strong application, interview successfully, complete all of our assessments, submit their screening docs, will then be invited to the virtual participant agreement meeting. That session is much like this. It's held virtually. We will go over the standards and expectations of the program and ultimately kick it to you to make sure that you understand the commitment and ask you if you're ready to make that commitment. Ideally, you'll say yes, and we'll give you all the first aid details for professional and technical development training. After that first 12 weeks, you will then enter into your externship either at iAdvance or Integral Molecular. And with that, we will open it up to Q&A. First thing that I'll say is if you have maybe individual questions that you might not feel comfortable asking here in this space, please take a picture and email that wipsy@universitycity.org email address, and we will answer your questions kind of specifically to you. I'm going to stop here on my screen and we'll open it up for Q&A. Mimi, could you do me a favor and stop the recording, please?
Yes.
Thank you. So folks who are in the info session now, if you have questions, you should feel free to unmute and ask